I'm gonna give you 7 lessons that would have saved me so much time in terms of life and heartache. I feel like everyone needs to know this because it's just some things that I wish I knew before that would have just made my life so much easier and less hard on myself. So this video is going to be for the person that they tend to be hard on themselves, they beat themselves up, and I just wanted to share some of the lessons I've learned that has made me feel happier and generally just more joyful. Recognize when you're doing well. I was talking to my therapist the other day and I was telling her my life is a mess right now. And right away, she stopped me right there. And she said, from my end, your life doesn't look like a mess. Please tell me. I was like, how so? She said, you wouldn't have a sense of peace and calmness from God right now if your life was a mess. You have been persevering despite it all, and you're still motivating people and encouraging people despite how you feel. That is actually a win. It looks like you're holding down the fort just fine. She went on to say, it's not easy to motivate someone if you feel like your life's a mess. And I'm assuming that when she was saying a mess, because I'm assuming she talks to multiple different types of people, that I probably would be like down and out, defeated, you know, extremely depressed, not doing anything. And I think it gave me a lot of perspective of just being careful of my words and not exaggerating my life, saying, oh, it's a mess, it's out of order. I love how she gave me that reminder, because there are things that you're doing right now that if someone was in your shoes, they wouldn't be doing it or would be able to. That's how I got that first point of recognizing when you're doing well. And it doesn't mean that life is perfect. It means that you're doing well. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're doing what you're meant to be doing in terms of purpose. Doing well right now doesn't mean that life would be perfect. It doesn't mean that because things are not going the way that you think it should be, means that your life is a mess. It can mean that there are certain things that are going well, it's tolerable, and you're building up coping mechanisms to get through life despite the challenges, because they're always going to be there. But there's always good things that you could find that you're doing well at. And I love how she opened my eyes and she stopped me right there, halted in my tracks. You are worthy of everything good. I always felt like I was born at a disadvantage. I didn't think I deserved a lot of things that I saw other people had, just because of the patterns of my life and the abandonment and the rejection and that feeling of not being wanted. So it just kind of went through like different parts of my life. I couldn't wrap my head around why God would do certain things in my life. Like he would allow me to have a successful business. I know I didn't deserve that, especially with where I started from. Like, it doesn't even make sense. The mere fact of why you would put people around me to support me and to keep me going. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to give up. And every time, there'll always be a group of people saying, don't give up, keep on going. And it took me a few years to get this. When he made me in his image, he made me for good. He made me so I could have the best of the best, the creme of the crop, if I allowed him to. He made me to do good. He made me to experience what life had to offer. If someone has it in their life, it means that it's possible for you too. As long as you can imagine it, it means that you can have it too. Anyone can have it. Sometimes we think because we didn't have the upper hand or we weren't served exactly the best platter, we must not deserve it. It just means that it's just not meant for us and we're meant to just get the worst of the worst. I'm here to tell you that whatever you've been dreaming about or wanting is meant for you. All it takes is to claim it. All it takes is to take the first steps. You don't need to know 10 steps from now. All you need to know is the first 3 steps and you're good. All you have to do is be open. I was just open and I would openly tell God, God, this is a life I want. I don't want to do this. I would love to do that. And God opened the door. You're worthy of everything good. Pity parties aren't worth it, baby. Man, the things I would tell my younger self. It's so much easier to complain than to give thanks. It feels better. It feels good. I struggled with giving thanks because I would look at my life. I would say to God, what is there to be thankful for? because I can't find anything. Tell me if you relate to that in the comments. Put it in the comments if you've ever struggled with being thankful. Just write it down now and tell me. And I even went a few steps further, and I would call someone, highlight the situation. I would put that situation on stage and give it a spotlight. It had all the lights. Everyone can see it. It was just big in my life. I made it nice and big. If I had a magnifying glass, that's how it looked. I made sure you could see it. I just cried about it. And you see, no amount of complaining or crying about it will solve the situation. The more I complained about it and magnified it, the bigger it got. The more it just centered in my life. The more it made me feel crappier and crappier and so little. It had me feeling so sad, my chest so tightened, and it just made me feel like there's nothing there for me in life. Like there was no hope. Over the years, I just discovered how much more beneficial it is to speak positive. And I'm not gonna lie to you and say, oh, it's easier. It's not. The truth is, it's easier to speak negative and just be in that space because it feels better. But speaking positivity over your situation, it serves you so much better. If you have a choice between being positive and negative, why wouldn't you choose to be positive if it meant that it would make you feel better and you'll be able to cope in the mess that you're in, that you feel that you're in? And you may be like, it's obvious, we all know that, Nakia. And this is just from my experience. You're gonna see more good things happen in your life when you're purposely, notice I said purposely, speaking good things over your life. It's just how it works. God has great plans for me. You may have lost your job. God has great plans for me. You may have had a bad breakup. God has great plans for me. You may feel so lost and not sure what to do next. You say it. God has great plans for me. You may feel depression. You may feel depressed. God has great plans for me. God is my provider, and he says to trust him. So I'm going to trust him. There was an experiment done by Dr. Emito, and what he did was he placed rice in 3 glasses and covered it with water and rice. And then every day for a month, to the first glass, he told it thank you. To the second glass, he told it you're an idiot. And then the third glass, he just ignored it. So after 1 month, the rice that had been thanked ended up fermenting and having a very sweet aroma. And then the second glass turned black, and the rice that was ignored began to just rot. It really just proves how powerful words are, and what you say to yourself really makes a big impact. There has actually been people who have done this test and have seen very similar results. I think it's very interesting. So your words do have power. So if I can go back to my younger self, I would tell her, stop having pity parties and let's have some celebration parties. And if you're a constant complainer right now, it's completely okay, because that's all we're taught. From little kids, we learn to complain when something doesn't go our way. And we haven't had much role models really teach us not to complain. As adults, you still see it when you go in the workplace or in careers. People complain, that's what they do, and they don't make changes. And so if you're a person that constantly complains, it's about making the conscious decision that you are not going to complain, and you're gonna choose to put your energy elsewhere. You just have to make that decision. You're gonna choose to say things that are completely opposite than what you're feeling right now, if that's a negative thing, and say something that speaks life into you, that makes you feel good. The peace of mind is worth it. I always say that. If it means I'm gonna have peace and I'm gonna have a clear mind, it's worth it. So you have to make that conscious decision. Am I gonna just continue to do what I've known that's not working and just getting me worried and full of anxiety? Or am I gonna choose a different path where I can just be happy and have a sense of joy and peace and calmness? Bills aren't important as you think. Now hear me out here, because if you guys know my story, this has been a big part of my life, is making sure that I have the right amount of money to always survive and so forth because of my unfortunate upbringing. But it wasn't until I ended up in the hospital, and I remember just sitting there and I learned a lesson. And the lesson was, I should have gone on the trips more sooner. But the truth was, every time I wanted to go, I would tell myself, no, I want to make more money. My life is in the way I want it to be. I want to get to here, even though I was already in a good place. But I'd always tell myself no, and I would just let fear drive it, where I'm like, no, I'm too nervous to go, so I just want to make more and more money. You see, when you're in a hospital bed, you have nothing else to do but to think. I really got to realize, and it put things into perspective, of how all the things we worry about doesn't really matter. All the bills we have worried about, all debts that we have worried about, how all the times we have worried about making more money, doesn't matter. Because when you're in that hospital bed, all you do is you have your health. All those things don't matter. It really doesn't. When you put life into perspective. When you're there, none of those things can help you. Yes, I agree. I could probably hear you thinking, yeah, but you need to pay your bills. But you see, when you're in that moment, your biggest regret is not, oh, I wish I had paid that phone bill for $50, or I wish I had made more money to pay that. You know what my biggest regret was? It was the experience. Oh, I wish I had just traveled. I wish I had just done the thing. I wish I had just done the experience that I wanted to do. There was many times where I wanted to walk away from the business. And I'd always tell myself, no, I want to continue it. But I always had that feeling, and bet your life, as soon as I came out of the hospital, a lot of things changed. I think that was the start of me starting to close down that business and experience other things. It's not just about making money. It's not just about all the worries of the world. It's also about experience, and there needs to be balance. It can't just be you focusing on all the things and all the obligations that you need to do, because you know what will happen is by the time that you're ready to do it, you may not be able to do it. It changes perspective once you're sitting there and you're like, wait, hold on. And all you can think about is experiences that you didn't do. All the things that you wanted to do, but you didn't do. That was my biggest regrets. And I'm glad I'm still here today. So now I try to enjoy life a little. Like, people always say, oh, don't spend the $5 on coffee. Save the money, save your money. In a year's time, it'll be blah, blah. But I'm like, if coffee makes you happy and you're spending $5 a day and it makes you happy, it's the little joys. I think people get caught up in the little things and they forget about just enjoying life sometimes. If I enjoy dancing, and there's a part of me that's nagging and saying, yeah, but I do want to spend the $200, I buy the dancing membership. Because if it brings joy to my life, and it means that it costs only $200, I'm going to spend the $200 to enjoy my life. It's just, sometimes life is too short, and we get caught up with the wrong things. So that was my biggest learning lesson for you, is bills aren't important as much as you think it is. You're never really safe as much as you think you are. You're in for a surprise, baby. Jim Carrey once shared an important story about his father, who had always dreamed about being a comedian as well. Chose the safe route of becoming an accountant to ensure his family was provided for. And despite playing it safe, his father was eventually laid off from the very job that he thought was going to keep him safe and was a better risk factor. His father eventually got laid off, losing the very job he wanted to use as security to provide for his family. From this, Jim learned a very invaluable lesson. No path is without risk. Whether you choose to pursue your dreams or settle for a conventional job, there's always a chance of failure. And this could be settling for whatever you think is safe. It doesn't have to be a conventional job, by the way. It's whatever you consider safe, opposed to doing the very thing that you actually want to do, which is your dream. So why not take a chance on something that you truly want? If you're going to choose between doing something that you don't actually want to do, you're going to go for that job that you don't really want to do, and then you have a choice to go after your dream, and you know that there's a potential that you could lose what you're working towards, you might as well take the risk to go after your dream, because they're both risks. When I got laid off and I found out that there's still risk, like in a job, I might as well take the risk. Like, life is so short, and try to do the very thing that I've been wanting to do. I spent too much time in fear, even when I had the job, to do the very thing on the side that I had to finally wake up once I got laid off, and that's when everything changed. And I believe that was meant for me. If you have a dream right now and you're feeling loyal to the job, or company that you're with, remember this: they won't hesitate to let you go in a heartbeat. So take the risk before life forces you to. Don't be like me, where life had to force me to take the risk. Take the risk right now. Don't ever feel comfortable and be like, well, I'm getting a paycheck. I think too many people get comfortable with paychecks that they miss out on the potential that they could have beyond that, on the very things that they could be doing that could potentially make them way more money or make them way more happy. No paycheck is worth it if it's making you all depressed and down and it's making you feel like there's something empty, there's something missing. No form of being comfortable and choosing to take the lesser road of less risk is worth that if you feel empty. You're not as safe as you think you are. So it's time to walk out. Imagine if Jim Carrey's dad did what he was meant to do. Maybe he would have been in a different place. But I think it was an eye-opener for him. And he still got laid off. And luckily, Jim Carrey was able to take that lesson with him. And he was like, no, I'm going to work in my dreams because I saw what happened to my father. And I don't want to repeat that. Someone has to do it. You know what? It just gets to a point where something has to change, or someone. Like, you need to do something differently if you want to see some type of change. It goes back to my other point. Are you going to complain about it and choose to just be unhappy? Or are you going to choose to be happy and at least try to do the very thing you want to do? Try. That's all. You need friends. I remember going for a walk and I didn't have a lot of friends. I was feeling so lonely. And I remember sitting down on a parking bench and just watching people have their people, like whether it was friends, family. And I remember getting a text from someone and I got excited because I was like, oh my God, there's one person that cares about me. And it turned out that they only texted me for an opportunity. And I remember crying so much because I was like, wow. No one cares enough about me to even just text me and just to check up on me. I think about it now and it was just crazy, okay? It was crazy because I was literally letting life happen to me and I was just in that pity party. Woe is me. It's not working out for me. Womp, womp. I was just sitting on that bench, just thinking about myself, waiting on people to just reach out to change my life. I think that's crazy, to just be sitting there doing nothing, just waiting. Where has it served you to just wait and do nothing and wait for the very thing to work itself out? What makes it crazier is I wasn't even getting out the house. I wasn't even going anywhere, going to any events. I wasn't putting myself out there. And here was me saying, oh, no one cares about me. I have no friends. Oh my gosh. I chose to make little effort and then was complaining that I had no friends and wasn't making any friends. You know how much it drives me off the wall when I see people saying, oh, I don't have that many friends. And then when you ask them what they're doing, they're not doing anything. How can you expect results if your actions, your output is nothing? Same effort, we're gonna say it again, the same effort that you need to find a man, where you will go up on those apps and you'll be like, well, I can't complain, I'm single, so I'm gonna go on those dating apps. I'm gonna make some effort and find a man. It's the same effort you have to do when you want to make friends. Same effort that you have to put in. It requires you to make a conscious decision to go places when people invite you. You have to choose to think of it as putting yourself first. If you don't look out for yourself and plan your day and make sure that things are lined up, no one else is going to do it for you. Sorry to break it to you. People are busy. They're not thinking about you. They're not thinking, oh, well, so-and-so is not doing anything right now. So you know what? Let me call them up and plan something to make sure that they have something lined up in their life and they're good. Fortunately, that's not how life works. That's not how it works. In the beginning, you may have to do the planning. And I know a lot of people don't want to do this. They want the other people to do it. Everyone wants everyone else to do it. They don't want to do the planning. They don't want to do the thinking and put a little effort. The very people who want to make friends are the ones that don't want to do anything. And they want someone else to do the planning for them and to put in effort so they themselves can make friends. Make that make sense. You need to start doing the planning, inviting people, and eventually people will just naturally do it. Eventually people will just start to line up And they will start reaching out to you and asking, hey, do you want to go here? And before you know it, you're asking them, they're asking you, and then it becomes one happy big family because you're seeing each other consistently. I actually learned this later in life, and I wish I knew this earlier because it would have saved me from so much heartbreak and crying and feeling woe is me, feeling like no one cares. Because the truth is, people are always happy and willing to go places with you. Believe it or not a lot of people have plans. A lot of people are sitting at home. You'll be very surprised. It's a lot more than you realize. Like, people are sometimes not doing things, especially if you even ask them a week before. People sometimes don't have plans. The only thing is, it's a little harder if you don't know them to be asking, anyone want to go anywhere on the same day? That's the only thing where I'm like, I wouldn't do that. Because like, if you're some random person, I'm not going to just get out my comfort zone and just go outside, depending on how I feel. It's always better to ask in advance, but you'll be so surprised how many people are willing to go out to places and do things. Don't wait on other people. You be the leader and start something. Take time for self-care despite how busy you are. I didn't start to do self-care until later in life. And I think it was because it was a lot of the struggling with finances. But honestly, if I can go back, I would have just changed around priorities and made self-care a priority and put aside money specifically for things I liked doing, because it probably would have made me more happier. There, I said it. I said it. This is for the people who say, I don't have any money. I don't have enough. It's not in the budget. If it's something that is important to you, it's very important to rearrange your money. Obviously, every circumstance is different, but I think it's very important to rearrange it accordingly. Over time, I just grew this mindset of being an overachiever and having a lot of ambitions. I'm not doing anything unless I reach this goal. Guess how far that got me? You won't get really far with it because eventually your body just needs to relax. It's okay for you to sometimes just sit there, relax, and not do anything sometimes. And just be in your own femininity and be in your own element. I recently just started reading fiction books, and it's such a beautiful escape. When I was younger, I used to read so much books and just enjoy and just escape. And I realized how much I've missed that. I have been making a goal to watch less TV so I could have time to read the fiction books. And it just made me think about the things that you used to do when you were a child or when you were younger that you don't do anymore. Sometimes when we start adulting, we forget to still have fun. We forget to do things that we enjoy, because those were the very things that kept you going. Do you know that I don't enjoy going to nail salons? I actually don't find it relaxing. But I like the end result. I like how my nails look, how they look all nice and done. And I know there's gonna be people saying, well, you can do it from home and save money. But you know what? I go because it reminds me that it's okay to be taken care of. It's okay for someone else to take care of me and just pamper me. I chose to take bachata classes because I wanted to learn it on a deeper level, because I learned how to dance bachata socially, but never got a real class on it. And so I take it because it expands my mind and it forces me to be my feminine, because if you are a follower and then there's the leader, it forces you to just submit to the leader. And I love it because I don't have to think of what to do next. I just follow them. I think that's such a great place to be in. It also teaches me a lot of things that what was difficult for me is now easy. It shows you that you can pretty much learn anything that you want to learn. And it just reminds you how simple life is. If you want to learn something, you just learn it. And it becomes easier eventually. There's just this sense of accomplishment. The days where I'm having bad days, it makes all the difference when I go to these dance classes, because it just changes my mood. If there's any drama in my life, I get to turn off that drama and just dance. And so, and that's what self-care does. It literally means that is you're putting yourself first despite what's happening around you, and you're just doing things you enjoy. That's it. Never tell yourself you're too busy for self-care. Ask yourself, as soon as you end this video, what can you do? Even if it's 15 minutes. This is for the ones that's saying, I'm too busy, Nikia, I'm tired. How do I even fit this in? You know how they usually say, if they wanted to, they would. The same goes for you. If you wanted to, you would. Meaning, if you really wanted to do self-care and put yourself first, you would. It's a choice. It'll always be a choice if you want to put yourself first or put others first. It's usually one or the other. So if you're not putting yourself first, you're putting someone else first. You will find the time when it comes to making money. You don't make any excuses. When there's a doctor's appointment, something very important, you will find a time for that. You'll arrange that schedule to make sure you can get to those doctor's appointments. And we all know that a lot of these appointments are during the day. I'm just a big believer that self-care is something that everyone should be doing. Whatever that means, it can be even something free, but I don't believe we should just be working. And this is coming from a person who used to just work and that's it. I wouldn't do anything for myself. I don't find it's healthy, and I find I'm way more happier doing this. And now it's become something that helps me cope with life. I can look forward to when days are hard. It comes in handy. Tell me in the comments which 7 lessons you enjoyed and you feel like you really resonated with.